So this topic of interracial dating is not really one I thought about ahead of time or anything like that. It just kind of came to my mind, and I just decided I'm gonna roll with it. And I mean that's just the way that this channel works, pretty much. So I want to jump right into it. Now, first of all, when it comes to interracial dating, anybody that thinks of it as an issue or like a concern, if that's your thought process, then you're basically stuck in the Stone Ages. It's not that type of thing. It's not like a social issue. Interracial dating is just, I mean, it's just dating. It doesn't have to really be completely in a category by itself. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, I mean, it's just part of dating. So um, yeah. So I think people need to get past that this attitude about should people date outside of their race or not. It's like that's a very archaic way of thinking. I mean, obviously you date who makes you happy. That's really what it comes down to. And if you just want to know my basic thought about interracial dating, I mean that's what it is. It's just you date who makes you happy. That's all there is to it. Now, I am going to get deeper into it, of course. I do want to say that, I mean, I think it's obvious that with interracial dating, there are going to be some challenges. I mean, but there's challenges with anybody you date. Even if you date somebody of your same ethnicity, you're still going to face some challenges. And it could even be related to your ethnicity, even though you both are, you have that same cultural background. You still may face some challenges because you're still dealing with expectations that may come along with that. Like, I mean, just as an example, I'll use, I mean, I'm black, so I'll start off with black people, of course. I know there are certain expectations that some black people may have for each other that, and when people don't live up to them, then there's a lot of issues along with that. So I think sometimes with black men are expected to carry themselves a certain way, like, it's almost encouraged to be a stereotype. I feel that a lot. I mean, there are a lot of people that seem like they just can't quite understand me when I'm not into certain things. Like, I don't care about basketball and football. I'm not big on those, and that's weird to some people. Or I think some of it is regional as well. Being a black man in the South, even though I don't know a lot of black guys that actually go to church on a regular basis, but there were a lot of guys that I've known that were brought up in the church. So I wasn't in that's kind of unusual to some people. So there's just some things about me that I guess don't fit into the stereotypical mold, and some people just don't know how to quite take that. And that the fact that I don't limit myself when it comes to like music and movies. I mean, there are some black people that's all that they do is they watch movies that are predominantly black cast, and they listen to only black artists. And I just don't believe in limiting myself. I think that's ridiculous. So yeah, when I don't fit those expectations, I think sometimes that's an issue. And you think about some other cultures as well. There are some cultures in which the woman is expected to be very subservient, and there's a lot of women, they're just not hearing that nonsense. And that's why sometimes they may date outside of their race. So yeah, I think these expectations that people have based off of ethnicity, they're a problem regardless of whether or not you're dating somebody of the same cultural background or not. You're gonna have those issues. Now, of course, when you do date somebody that is outside of your race, and I'll use the term race. I mean, that's what people tend to say, even though ethnicity is more proper. But I mean, of course, you have to deal with, especially being here in the South. I know when a couple goes out, whether it be a black man and a white woman, or a white man and a black woman, if it's an interracial couple, they sometimes will still get stares, and people are kind of whispering behind their back, and it's just so stupid. I mean, that is just so, again, such an old way of thinking. I mean, because what does it matter? How does that even affect you? That's the thing that really bothers me so much about people in this country, and it very much is in this country. And I know, it affects other countries as well, but in this country, we're supposed to be so evolved and so, the land of the free and this and that or whatever, but why do we constantly judge who other people date? It does not matter. What happens in somebody else's home or somebody else's bedroom is really none of your concern. Like, how is it affecting you? As long as they're both of legal age, consenting adults, why does it upset people so much? I really don't get that. So whether it be orientation or race, whatever, whatever it may be, it's like it's really none of your business. Like, Find somebody for yourself. How about that? Instead of worrying about who somebody else is dating. That's really what it comes down to. Find somebody for yourself. And if you're happy with somebody, be happy with them. You don't have to judge other people in their relationships. Like I said, if they're two consenting adults, that's all that matters. That is really all that matters. So yeah, like I said, people that keep trying to look at interracial dating as this big should it be or shouldn't it be thing, it's stupid. I mean, that's all it comes down to. It's a really stupid way of thinking. So now for me personally, I want to be completely open and honest, because this channel is not just me making videos for the viewers. I mean, that's part of it, but then also part of it is it's almost like my journal in a way. I mean, this is really like, because I'm not great with, I'm great with doing poetry and I write novels and things like that, but when it comes to straight up just writing my thoughts down, I don't do so well, because I kind of get caught up in how are the words flowing, and I edit myself a lot, and I kind of lose focus on just being open with my thoughts. So this works a lot better for me. So this is, when you watch these videos, it almost is like you're checking out my journal. I'll say diary. No, I don't want to say diary, journal. I'm a man, so I'll say journal. Sounds more masculine. But anyway, so I do want to be very honest about my history in terms of interracial dating. And I'll say I've never like officially dated outside of my race. I've like hung out with white women before, and gotten to know them, and have been romantically involved, but not to the point of like a full-on relationship though. And really, that's not completely on my shoulders. I know there was one woman that I was into, a white woman that I was into, and I could just tell after a while that she was just not comfortable about going out in public together, and obviously that did bother me. It really did bother me, and I did kind of have a harsh reaction to that, which I'll get into in a moment. But yeah, so that didn't go anywhere there. And then I mean, there's been other situations where I felt like that was the case as well, where I could just tell that the woman wasn't completely comfortable with like going out in public. Like, I've been out on dates before with white women, but like I said, never have dated one regularly. And again, that's really not completely on me. And I'm putting kind of a focus on white women just because where I live, I'll be honest, is not exactly the most diverse place. I mean, there are people of other backgrounds, Hispanic and Asian, but I noticed that especially in this area, it seems like people very much tend to cling to their own. There really isn't like a ton of interracial dating except for black and white. That's mainly what I see where I live. I'm just being true to it, where I live, and that's not a judgment on it. I'm just saying that's the reality of where I live at, So most interracial dating, yes, it is black and white. So like I said, I do want to go ahead and be very honest here that for a while I was very frustrated with white women in general, and yes, I know that's not fair. I'm not trying to justify the way that I used to feel. I want to be clear about that. When I tell you about this situation and what happened in the past, I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just being open about it. So let's be clear about that, because I don't want somebody getting upset about the way that I used to think. Excuse me. And that's what I'm sharing with you, the way that I used to think. Okay, so let's be clear about that. So for a while, I was very frustrated with white women in general, just because, like I said, being kind of involved with the woman and really kind of feeling her and like strongly, being open to dating her, and her being afraid because of what other people might think, that really did bug me. And then on top of that, I was seeing a lot of white women on social media complaining about black men, and in particular white women that have like a full figure and they're shapely and things like that. Of course, they draw a lot of attention from black men, and it's not just because they're white. I mean, pretty much any shapely woman black men are going to look at, and a lot of black guys like full-figured women, some people say BBWs, big beautiful women, that's some guys' types. A lot of black guys, that's their type. And I got a little sidebar here. I think it's so silly when some people joke or even joke about it or criticize black men for dating full-figured. I'm trying to be nice about it. Some people don't like the word big, but full-figured white women. Some people criticize that or joke about it, whatever it may be. And it's like, well, I mean, there are a lot of black guys like myself that just like full-figured women. So if a guy is dating a white woman, I mean, he's still gonna go for that type. So it's like I don't understand the logic in joking about that. It's just in criticizing it. It just really doesn't make much sense to me. It's the same thing as if a black guy was gonna date an Asian woman, you know, he might try to veer towards one that is full figured, you know, so or you know, a Hispanic woman, same thing. So it's just like, why do people make such of a fuss about that? I don't really get that, and I think some of that is black women just kind of acting jealous for no good reason, which I'll talk about that more in a moment. But yeah, getting back to what I was saying though, yeah, I've seen these women complain on social media about they're so tired of black guys trying to hit on them and this and that or whatever, and it sounded really ugly to me. And I knew part of what was going on is that some of these women were not really upset about that. They weren't really annoyed about it. It's more like they were bragging, but instead of straight up bragging, they were acting like they were complaining, which really did annoy me. And then you did have some women that obviously were like they legitimately didn't like that, but I mean it came across to me as, just to be blunt about it, it sounded very racist because it's like, I mean, is it really only black guys hollering at you? You know, if you're and I just don't understand what's so bad about that either. As long as they're respectful. I mean, I understand a woman being upset if the guys approach them in a disrespectful way, but if you're getting a lot of attention from men because of the way you look and everything, I mean, that's just life, you know. But like I said, as long as they're respectful, I don't think that's such a bad thing. You know, that's just my opinion on it. So yeah, I was kind of irked by that. And I know at one point I wrote a poem that kind of hurt some feelings. I know some people read it, like former classmates from when I was in high school. They read it because they were on my social media, and I was basically talking about how I felt like I couldn't date a white woman. Like I just couldn't see it working out. And again, this was my old way of thinking. I want to be clear about that again. My old way of thinking, and the reason why I was saying that though is because I just felt like, again, I was annoyed by some of the stuff I was seeing certain white women saying online, and I felt like black women were really frustrated about that. You know, there are some black women that act like they don't get enough attention, which it is an act, you know, which I should have been more acknowledging of that fact back then. But also, I think the biggest challenge for me if I were to date a white woman would be just talking about some of the things that happen in this country. It seems like it would be a huge challenge when you talk about like police shootings and you know, some of the political stuff that's going on in the country. It just seems like it would be very uncomfortable to talk about certain issues, and I just don't know you know, how supportive a woman could be with certain things that I would have to say about, you know, what I'm seeing going on in this country. So that's where I think it would be one of the bigger challenges. You know, as far as people staring and, you know, family members judging and this and that, I really don't care about that stuff much or whatever. They just need to mind their business. That's what that comes down to. But yeah, I think it would be very awkward just to talk about certain social issues and certain situations, certain real life situations. Like if I ever run in with a police officer that's obviously, you know, just going out of his way to check up on me or bother me because of my skin color, then it's like, how do I really address that within my relationship? So I felt like I just couldn't see it at that time. Again, this is my old way of thinking, and I'm so glad that I've continued to mature and, you know, as over the years, because it's always you should always be growing and changing and continuing to mature. I don't think there's ever like a time when you hit your like ultimate stage of maturity. Like you can always continue to grow and learn. There are senior citizens that are still like growing and learning as people, you know, as the world changes as well. So that's the way that it should be. So I had to learn over time that, you know, when it comes down to it, like I just want somebody that's going to appreciate me for who I am, and the things that I do, like, you know, me being romantic and me giving attention and those sorts of things. Like whoever can appreciate that and you know, really respect that, then that's what matters. That matters a lot more than skin color. And you know, some black women don't like to hear that still. Maybe it's not as big of a thing as it used to be, but there are some black women that kind of cut their eye and have an attitude, you know, black men date outside of the race, but at the same time, some women just do that regardless. And this is what I see happen a lot. I mean, a whole lot. And I really wish that women in general would just cut this nonsense out. A guy can be single for a long time. And like, I've been in a situation times where I've been single for a good while, and as soon as I date somebody, that's when other women that I know or other women that are around, all of a sudden they're looking like, why are you with her? Like, why aren't we a thing? And it's just like, cut that nonsense out. I can't stand when women do that. And that's not even about race at all. That's just ignorance. I'm sorry. That's what it comes down to. And it's not just black women that do that either. There are a lot of women out there that are guilty of that, and men that are guilty of that too. Like, if somebody is single and you're truly interested in them, then you let them know and you pursue them. You don't wait until they're with somebody else and then you try to judge. So like, if I've been single for a long time and I start dating somebody, whether they be white, Asian, Hispanic, green skinned alien, I mean, whoever it is, it's none of your business if you didn't really pursue me. So that's what it comes down to. So I really think, like I said, people just need to cut that nonsense out. Don't try to judge somebody just because you want to act jealous when you didn't even really pursue them. I mean, that's ridiculous. And you'll even have people that are, I said this before and I'm going to say it again. If somebody's already in a relationship, they don't need to worry about who anybody else is dating. I mean, especially if they're in a relationship, they really have no concern about who somebody else chooses to date. I mean, what does it matter? So yeah, you hear me getting kind of passionate about this, heated about it. It's just because it's just so ignorant for people to continue to judge others. Like, even when I did go through that stage where I felt like I don't know if I could date outside of the race, I still didn't really try to pass judgment on others for doing it, because that's none of my business. It's like, whoever makes them happy, that's what it comes down to. And I have seen some couples that kind of surprise me. I mean, people that I actually know. And excuse me, but yeah, just people that I look at sometimes, and I'm kind of surprised that they are together. But it's not really so much about race or anything like that. It's just, you kind of wonder how certain personalities match up and this and that or whatever. But still, as long as they're happy, that's all that matters. That is really all that matters. And I think what's a lot more significant, at least in my life, that from what I've seen with dating, is that it, much more significant than race is just the appreciation thing. That's big with me. People, you probably hear me say that a lot. I've said it a lot in this video. I'll say it a lot in a lot of some other videos too. But it's really about appreciation, because I've dated way too many women that just, there was like no appreciation for the things that I tried to do. It's always complaining, always trying to find drama. And again, that's not a race thing. That's just a problem in general. And I think it's so unfair that there are a lot of women that will criticize a nice guy to death. But they pursue these bad boy types, and they will put up with all sorts of nonsense. They'll put up with cheating. They'll catch a guy red-handed, still continue to deal with him. I've known women that only dated drug dealers, and just guys that are constantly getting into trouble, or guys that aren't about anything, men that don't even want to work, and they're basically just taking care of them, which is just ridiculous, and again, that's not even a race thing. Like, I've seen that happen across different races, in interracial and non-interracial couples. It's just that's really not even a race issue. Like, it's just an issue in general. So, I feel like, again, people that put themselves in a certain situations, they especially can't really judge others too much. Some people are in bad situations because they want to be there. Because if they didn't want to be there, they would move on instead of making all their lame excuses about it. So yeah, like I said, a lot of people, they have no ground to stand on when it comes to judging who other people date. And I know if I were to end up with, whether it be a white woman or whoever, if anybody had anything to say about it, I'd either ignore it, or if they really wanted to be vocal about it, I would definitely shut them down quickly, because nobody's going to judge who I date. And especially if I fall in love with a woman, I'm not going to allow anybody to be disrespectful. They could try it, but they're definitely going to hear about it as well, because I don't play that nonsense. When I was married, things weren't perfect with my ex. I mean, we definitely had issues, but still, that was for me to deal with. You know, I didn't want to hear anything from anybody else. That was for me to deal with. And I did deal with it. You know, when things got too stressful, I left, you know, so I didn't need to hear that from anybody else. So, yeah, I think the world would just be a lot better, and this country would definitely be a lot better if everybody just kind of minds their own business when it comes to relationships. As long as people are happy, yeah, that's what matters. And I can't even stress that enough. I think I've already said it a couple of times. So, yeah, I want to hear your thoughts, you know, as always about this. And I'll just say this. I'm gonna kind of watch the comments closely. If I feel like anybody's being unjustifiably negative or ignorant, then, you know, delete, block, whatever. You know, that's all there is to that, because I don't need that nonsense here. Like I said, I'm sharing my thoughts, and you know, I hope that people respect that. And you know, even if you disagree with me for whatever reason, express that. You know, don't just be ugly about it, because I'm not going to put up with that nonsense. And you know, anybody that doesn't like the things that I say, if they want to click the little thumbs down, if that makes them happy, whatever, go ahead and hit the ignorant button. I don't really care about that, you know, because I'm mature, so it's whatever. But yeah, you know, as always, like I said, I want to hear your thoughts. Please let me know what you think about what I had to say. And again, I don't want to listen to anybody being critical of me about the way that I used to think, because I have changed. I said, you know, I have matured, and all when it comes down to it, all I really want is to find somebody that loves me for who I am, and I'm gonna love them for who they are, and that's really all there is to it. But yeah, that's enough about that. You know, I've been going on and on, but yeah, thank you all for watching, and you all take care. Till next time.